Hi and welcome everyone. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, and today's topic is called SkyTumbling. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening September 19th and 20th, 2021. And before we get into those sky observations, I'd like to say good day, osio, hao, buongiorno, guten tag, kia ora, jambo, kedu, buenos dias, bonjour, ni hao, dzień dobry, konnichiwa, dobro honya, annyeonghaseyo, boa tarde, dobry den, aloha winala, kalimera, hudenda, and good day. And today not only is happy first day of fall if you're in the northern hemisphere, but it's also Happy Hobbit Day, September 22nd, where two central figures, key Hobbit figures, Bilbo and Frodo Baggins, both have a birthday occurring on the 22nd, however in different years. So if you go by the third age where they're in, or Middle Earth, time clock there, they go by the years 2890 and 2968 respectively. However, where the hobbits are from in the Shire, they go by a counting system of the years called Shire reckoning, and so they would be born in 1290 and 1368 respectively. Anyway, I invite you to read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings if you haven't already. The movies are good, but of course the books are much richer in many ways, most ways, and so have a read. In the meantime, I'm just going to quote a little passage, take a little passage from The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Book 3, Chapter 4, called Treebeard. And Treebeard is an Ent who is a tree being, and I'm just going to leave it at that and invite you to read the books or watch the movies to find out more. Anyway, here is the quote. It goes like this. Treebeard lifted two great vessels and stood them on the table. They seemed to be filled with water, but he held his hands over them, and immediately they began to glow, one with a golden and the other with a rich green light. And the blending of the two lights lit the bay as if the sun of summer was shining through a roof of young leaves. Looking back, the hobbits saw that the trees in the court had also begun to glow, faintly at first, but steadily quickening, until every leaf was edged with light, some green, some gold, some red as copper, while the tree trunks looked like pillars molded out of luminous stone. Anyway, this is just to set the tone and the spirit of the day. The image is just from a couple of years ago. I took it in a park in the morning. It just seemed to fit the mood here. Anyway, let's get into the sky observations now. Whether you're new or returning to this channel, I give you my heartfelt thanks and welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you are new, stick around a bit. If you're returning, you may want to just skip this part. I'm just going to go over the basics of what I'm doing here. So all I do is go about my daily business. Usually it's going to be out and about in Miami, Florida, and I look up at the skies and I observe what's going on. I've been doing this intently for the past 3 years, but I've been observing the skies keenly my whole life. But anyway, I just look about, see if there are any strange things going on, which really have been picking up over the last 3 years in our skies. And I take pictures, which is with a camera phone. Then I take those pictures and I've either directly witnessed something or I just sense something is going on up in the sky and I take a picture. Then I take the photos and I do enhancements, which just means I take the photo and I either edit attributes of it, such as color saturation, brightness, contrast, and all I'm doing is tweaking the levels up and down a little bit, and it just really draws out and highlights a whole new world of things when I do this. So you'll see what I mean coming up in the show, or if you look at any of my previous 117 shows, this is now show 118, so I have plenty of examples of strange stuff happening in the skies, usually over Miami. Sometimes I get wonderful contributions in from wonderful Lavender Sky Panther viewers who send in things, for example, images coming in from Australia, and it just is, really wherever I'm going about my business any given day. So I invite you to do the same if you're not doing it already. Just as you're, coming to and fro, just really look up at the skies and see if you see things that just don't seem, quite usual when you compare it to many decades in the past. Anyhow, that being said, I also say strange cloud activity in quotes as the little title in the corner of these slides. Cloud in quotes means cloaking activity, cloaking craft or objects. The objects can be 3D, like you could theoretically walk up and, knock on it and touch it, or it could be something very ephemeral and ghost-like, or phantom-like, very interdimensional, or it could be a 3D object phasing in and out of state. or it could be, something else cloaking in a different way we just don't understand. And that's what I'm referring to when I'm talking about cloud activity. Now, the cloaking material itself, I'm just going to say it's plasma as my go-to reference. Just means something heavier than and denser than water vapor that lingers in the sky much longer and can cloak objects well. And so that's where I'm going with all of this. Now, when I say objects, they can be craft, like a person-manned, craft, or it could be like an instrument or some type of sensor, some type of technology up there as well. And anyway, I think I'll just get going, and, and I'll explain a little more as I go along the way. Anyway, this is just a scene looking west towards sunset, and there was some pretty vibrant color. Actually, to the naked eye, it didn't pick up quite on my camera. You'll see it in the enhancement coming up. But anyway, it just seemed to have some strange collection of clouds and movements. So we've got a horizontal thing going this way and a vertical one going this way. None of these look like typical cumulus clouds. They're kind of loosely held together. We're going to just jump to the enhanced version so you can see what I mean a little bit better. Here I was mainly capturing the vibrant color, but also 8.1 we see a triangular shape, flat line at the bottom, like a truncated triangle. I suspect cloak and craft in here. And again, this seems to be some type of object because this is very tubular and going straight across. So just there's a lot of strangeness, a lot of straight lines happening, and that's always a little bit of a giveaway that there might be cloak and craft going on. We'll get to better examples coming up in the show too. So here again, just kind of looking off, this time a little bit more toward the north, and just seeing a lot of strange, parallel lines here, a weird line coming down on this angle, weird tracings, things getting backlit in an interesting way. So with enhancement, mainly I'm just looking at these elements down here. So I'm not always going to call out each letter either. I drop them in to just show points of highlights, that things have jumped out at me of key points of interest. And I may or may get to all of them in a given photo, we'll see. And there's going to be a whole lot going on beyond what I label, to be sure. Anyway, for now, I just noticed we have a really straight line forming down here at 8.1, starting to look like a triangular shape, like an imprint. Then B.1, we have again another triangular shape with a straight line going below, so I'm suspecting a cloak and craft here. And then here's this, horizontal, look at this, tube, rectangular form, very precise. I'm going to say that's a cloak and craft as well. Let's keep moving. So now we're going to look south-southwest, and we had this burst of color and this strange shape here at B. So I thought let's take a look over here at the right-hand side at the enhanced version. And sure enough, B.1 does not look like a typical cloud. I'm not sure exactly what is going on here, if that whole thing is one craft cloaking, or if there's just separate little elements, individual elements of cloaking craft. But I am going to say we've got straight lines here that are parallel. It looks too structured and designed to just be haphazard cloud, that for sure. We have weird little objects here too that could be cloaking craft. And then something strange is happening here at 8.1. So we get this weird blur out, fuzz out, what I kind of call a staccato cloud effect, just meaning something very choppy and fuzzy to the human eye while everything else is in focus. And to me, that just means there is some type of craft in there, either here local, or sometimes it could be something happening up above, suspected to be a cloak and craft, which is generating electromagnetic wave activity or some type of frequency disturbance in the local atmosphere here. And that's what I'm going to say about that. So we get some weird points here where these are brighter points and then stuff going darker in shadow, all within this thing. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft involved here. See what you think, though, as always. And then here we're going to look to the north. Again, just a strange overall configuration here. Doesn't look like any known, named cloud like you can, categorize and say, oh, that's cumulus. No, this is a strange consistency and configuration here. So we're going to look at it with enhancement, and I get a color signature of red-pink in there. So it tells me there is something more going on than just a typical cloud passing overhead. Again, we have this staccato, choppy, fuzzy cloud effect going on too, which kind of substantiates that and says, yes, there's some kind of energy burst. Something is generating some kind of waves. Then we have, look at D.1, these strange, this is perpendicular, this line to this line, and here too. And these are both parallel to each other, so that doesn't happen in a natural cloud assembly. And a similar thing is echoing here, where these lines are parallel, now going off on a different angle. So I'm going to say there is cloak and craft in here, hands down, no question. Now the reddish pink signature, I invite you to look at the description box below at what could be generating that as well. All right, now here's looking off to the southeast, and we have straight line across, and we have this weird chunk and something else strange happening here, these weird bits and fragments, and we look at it with enhancement, and here we go. So I was mainly looking at 8.1. We have something that looks like a definite triangle, more ghost-like, happening in front of this strange straight line, while we have this weird puff chunk here, which looks like it has something darker and denser being cloaked beyond. So I'm going to say these are cloaking craft. We've got straight lines here, and these are not natural cloud formations in this type of sky at this time of day, and so I'll leave it right there for now. All right, now we're going to be looking to the north-northeast, this time in the morning, and we have a weird combination. So we've got something that wants to be cumulus, but it still looks very artificial. We have strange little things happening, strange movements, and just a lot of strange movements. So we're going to look to the right, and we can see it a little bit better. What's going on here? We've got B.1 is the pure triangle on an angle. We've got something coming down at this angle. This is kind of curved, doing its own thing, like, upward. This is coming on a opposing angle to this one. And then we have an edge here that looks very triangular, so, very with sharp angles and lines. So the whole scene is really bizarre. On top of it, we have this weird, thing in the background, this white swath, which, also would not be cloud typically forming. These are all right next to each other in proximity and in altitude, and there was no wind movement, so there's no way we're going to get something forming like this in addition to all of this weird stuff happening in the foreground. We've got some movement coming in here too, and we've got different consistency of stuff happening around a more solid object here too, so that tells me that's cloaking craft with some kind of plasma cloaking material wafting over it. See what you think. Here we go. Now we're going to look to the southeast, and what caught my attention here was A and B primarily. So A, we start to see like a ring forming, a hole, which is strange. B.1, just something looks like it's like doing its own thing and bursting up out of this overall cloud form. The overall cloud form is so insanely low in the atmosphere. Sorry, my voice. I didn't have any warm drink this morning yet. Bear with me. But anyway, this overall cloud formation is insanely low in the sky and doing its own thing and leaning on its own angle, while this is also like doing its own thing, and it's got a triangular form to it. Anyway, we're going to zoom in more on B.1, I think A.1 as well. Yeah, first A.1. So we're moving along, just zooming in more on this ring. It was just very strange how that was forming. And then we have down at C.2 and C.3. C.3 we see like a dart shape, like an arrowhead shape here. Very clear. And that's not a typical cloud. So I'm going to say that's either some type of cloaking craft or instrumentation or, sensor or something. There's also a triangular form here as well. Then we're going to go on to the other side of this thing at the B.2 and look at this really weird form. So it's got a solidity to it at the bottom, and it's got these weird stick-like things poking up out of it. So I'm going to say that's some type of cloaking object. And then here, this is coming straight horizontal, in proximity of this. And so that might also be some type of cloaking craft activity, even here beyond. We're going to zoom in one more time just so you can see there's like that stick-like thing popping out. Even a triangular form here once again, and something darker. Just, there's just too much in here that looks like it has engineering going on to it, just to say that that's part of a cloud assembly. And anyway, look at it. It's like perched here on the rim of a totally different animal as far as cloud consistency. And if you look at some of my previous shows, such as Rim Watching 2, you'll see that I've captured other light body ships and things that like to just like perch and poise on the perimeter, on the tops of some of these cloud rims. Anyway, I think that's what's happening here as well. All right, this is looking off to the north-northeast, and I just saw this overall beautiful, very ephemeral-looking overall thing. This is also goes into the category I didn't mention early on in the show. There's also another form of phenomenon that could be going on, such as something called sky wisps or sylphs or air elementals. And I think that's the category we're in here. So not that it's like a traditional cloaking, but maybe something even more of a cosmic phenomenon, something supernatural, because the way that these form, they're very wisp-like. In this case, it's forming a triangle, an elongated triangle. And we've got, something coming down at a different angle than this and a different angle than this. So it tells me there's intelligence involved, whatever is forming this thing. And then A is actually a man-made chemtrail coming in. And when I see that interlacing over things like this, it tells me especially that we are dealing with something special forming here, and that this is, a distraction, to it. Here we go with some enhancement. We can see it all a little bit better. Look at the beautiful patterning, just the swirling and the movements in here especially are really beautiful and intricate. See what you think that could be. All right, then we're looking over to the south, and here's actually a chemtrail over here to the left. Look at my previous early shows as far as, if you want to know my thoughts of what the definition of chemtrail is, chemical filled trail. Anyway, looking at this overall thing, this overall cloud assembly is very artificial looking. It was forming, this is not a typical cloud, and there's nothing to say this is a typical cloud. In decades past, I've lived on this planet. This doesn't fit in any category of cumulus or anything. So it's just got these weird, what I want to say, just the fringe of this whole thing, the whole perimeter has just such a strange consistency and just falling apart and frayed. Actually, frayed is the word I was looking for. And then we look at the right-hand side at the enhanced version, and we see a warm, red-pink glow signature showing that there's some kind of different energy signature or burst in here, compared to what's going on down here where it's very golden. And actually, this wide color range is not typical for this time of day. We also have some strange things here when we look in the shadows. But really what caught my attention was 8.1. When we look over at A, I saw a clear etching, of outline of a triangle form. And here it is, just a little more pronounced when we look at 8.1. All right, then, and more weirdness looking to the west. Look at this, A and B. We're going to look over here to the right-hand side. Just these weird developments and forms with these, etched lines, kind of creating shapes that just don't look typical. Those aren't part of any typical cloud activity. And once again, we have the staccato cloud effect where it's all choppy and fuzzy. So again, that tells me there is some type of cloak and craft in there, or multiple craft generating energy waves, or some type of frequency waves. Okay, here we're looking to the southeast, and what caught my attention was this imprint. So that means a shape being formed by stuff around the outside of it. And we look to the right and we can see it. So we've got straight lines that are parallel. It looks like a geometric form in here being formed by something. So I'm going to call that cloak and craft. And B1, there's just some other strange activity happening off to the side as well, directly adjacent. So I'm calling that some type of cloak and craft phenomenon. All right, now we're going to go back to this elongated, triangular, beautiful wisp-like form, just to see what's going on with it a little bit later in time. And it's morphing and changing a bit. Just very elegant and beautiful. And then we get strange activity now popping up over on top of it. As you can see, this is more staccato, choppy, fuzzy effect. But we even look like we have a circular element happening here. So there's stuff with intelligent design happening within all of this. So I'm not sure what the relationship is between this overall thing happening and this below, or if they're all one bigger thing. I'm not sure. See what you think on that. Then we're going to look at other weird activity over to the north-northwest, so just to the left of what we were looking at with that elongated triangle. And we have this weird activity, happening right next to this smoother activity, and these parallel lines doing their own thing. So there's just a lot of strangeness happening in the sky. When we look with enhancement, we see that this overall thing, which is a different animal from this and this, so to speak, it does have its own color signature. So, these warm tones. And it looks like this thing almost flew in down from here, where we have like these vapor trails. The whole situation's very strange. I do think something is definitely cloaking in here, or multiple things. This actually looks like it flew up this way, and this is a vapor trail behind it. This might have come in, coasting in from this direction. Looks like it has a vapor trail this way. But see what you think is happening. Okay, now we're going to look to the east-northeast. And again, we get a whole collection of strangeness because it's right next to each other in the same proximity, but has very different color characteristics and characteristics in general. So let's spend time on the right-hand side where, look at this thing. It's beautiful, but I have no idea what this is. This is again one of these sky wisp, air elemental, cosmic phenomenon that come in that we can't really explain at all. I think so. We've got some weird trails happening, things popping off of it. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. But look at these two things at C and D. They're really dark. They have plasma floating in front. So I'm going to call these cloak and craft. It looks like parts that are popping out of a bigger hole. See what you think is going on. E.1 gets real weird because now we have an oblique or flattened triangular form with a stick coming out of it. So that to me is a machine part of some type. Also, we've got a triangle form here, other strange forms here and here. See what you think is going on. I definitely see that this is cloak and craft, and actually I think these are two separate ones now that I'm looking at C.1. This looks like something in its own right, and this looks like something kind of curved over, kind of like a funnel shape, and it looks like it's moving on its own, coming, maybe crossing past this thing in a different direction. These definitely have clear movement of moving up like this and over in this direction. Or maybe this one's flying down this way and this one's moving this way. See what you think is going on, but it's very intriguing, this overall scene. And then we're going to zoom in on these two figures here, 3 figures, just to see if we can, get any other hints at what's going on. And all I can get at is we've got like a circular form here. We've got these little bright points that tell me there's something going on with intelligent design. And see what you think, though. Okay, now we're going to look to the southeast, and this was just strange because at B we have these sharp corners. Normal clouds, typical clouds don't form like that. And then we have this weird anomaly at A, so we look to the right-hand side at the enhanced version, and again, look at this. What is that thing doing its own thing? We have a bright point here and like a stick-like form here, so I'm definitely going to say that is a cloak and craft of some type. And then we have strange movement because just in the fact that it's a totally different character than what these things are doing and what's happening here beyond. So I'm going to say there's cloak and craft involved in all of this. See what you think. Then here's kind of one of the reasons why I was calling the whole show SkyTumbling, because here we have all these different objects that are like doing their own thing and tumbling through the sky with different motion and movement, and then we see it with some enhancement. Look at, we have this thing diving down. I'm going to call that a cloak and craft. Look at, we've got a sharp angle, a flat edge, crisp edges. We have a symmetrical object here, and it looks like it's coming down with like a vapor trail behind it, or maybe more of it's being cloaked and hidden. This might be part of an overall bigger thing. And then we have, again, dark objects back here with wafting, cloaking material coming wafting in front of them. And then this is kind of like smudged out in the background, but also heavily cloaked with other veiling just in the sky. The particulate in general is helping it veil. And then we have other objects here at D.1. Look at this E.1. It's like curved down this way. It's like a standalone object with more cloaking material coming in front of it. And then we go down to the F.1. These little objects here look like they're coming across, with little trails behind them as well. So there's just a whole lot of something going on in here. See what you think is happening. And we're going to zoom in a little bit and look at some of these elements a little bit closer. Look at this, Here again is that object. Another one here with the cloaking material in front of it. Same thing here. Then we got a darker object, masked beyond. I don't know what's happening there, but look at these sharp, clean edges here. Really wild stuff happening in here. I don't know exactly what's going on and what the interplay, and if they're on the same team, so to speak, or if these things are combating against each other, or they're just out having a day of fun and flight is what it looks like to me. But see what you think is going on. Okay, here we go. This gets really interesting. Again, why I'm calling it SkyTumbling. Here's the left side is the original. The right hand is with enhancement. Look at this stuff. It's like crisscrossing, these paths are crisscrossing each other. It just looks like, yeah, they're tumbling around having fun. To me, this is a craft in and of its own right here, and this is one diving down this way, and something has shot off this way, perhaps. Something's diving down here beyond, something down here coming across. It's pretty wild. See what you think is happening. I'm going to zoom in one more time. Oh, hold on. Okay, we're zooming in one more time and looking at these interesting elements a little bit more closely. And again with enhancement, and look at it. It's definitely a darker object of substance with a different material, cloaking material wafting in front of it, here too, and down here. Really bizarre. And over here too, we have a triangular form. Looks like it's part of something bigger, and it looks like something's actually even lifting off from this object. But once again, look, we got a straight line here, straight edges. This is diving down this way. A lot of activity going on here. See what you think exactly is going on. when you have a moment. Take a real good look at these things. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. So I want to say thank you for being so luminous here a while and spending your time here. I really appreciate it. And this is just a scene of various tumbled crystals. I included them on another show in a slightly different way, displayed in a different way. We have Carnelian in the foreground and over here. We have Sodalite, Tiger's Eye, Dalmation Jasper, I believe that's black Tourmaline, Amethyst, and some Amazonite. And I think this is Aventurine over here. So anyway, I wish you all a gorgeous week ahead still. More importantly, a very happy right now. And I wish you tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.